Hello guys, this is just a quick tutorial on how to install the Spiralwinder bezel, aftermarket bezel, onto the Speedmaster Professional from Omega. So when you buy the Spiralwinder bezel, it comes with three parts. There's the bezel itself, there's this protective carrying case, and then there's this all-important tool. They call this case back tool. It looks like it's 3D printed. It's pretty light. It's made out of plastic, but it's pretty hard. Right? It doesn't flex at all. Now, this tool actually serves three purposes. One is that they have this nice case back opener, actually. So when you take your watch here, it actually slides very snugly onto the back, right? And the tolerances are pretty good. And then you can actually use this to open up your case back if you want. So, but today, of course, we're not going to be using that, but it is pretty useful to have that feature in there. Okay. Now, on the other side of this, there's this opening here. And what this opening does is that it actually fits perfectly around the crystal and sits onto the bezel here. So you can use this as a bezel press, okay? And you can just kind of press down when you're installing the Spiralwinder bezel, okay? And then thirdly, this tool has a lip. There's a little thing sticking out here, and this is the part that you're going to use to kind of wedge off like the original bezel on your watch. Okay, and the way it works is actually kind of cool. Let me just kind of show you a close-up here. So when you look at how the bezel sits on the watch itself, you can see that kind of like the bezel kind of sits on top of this around the crystal, okay? And you'll see in a moment, but when I pop this off, you'll see that it's just like this disc that goes around the crystal, and then there's a little plastic gasket in there. And you'll see that in a moment. And how this works is that you're gonna take the wedge part of this tool, and you can just see how it kind of fits in there. It doesn't slide inside, and it's not supposed to, okay? But the way it works is that it kind of just slides like that, and then what you're going to do is you're going to hammer on this side here, and it'll just simply pop off the bezel. No damage, because this is made out of this light resin, but it's hard. And it's not going to, I mean, I've been hammering it onto here so many times, and you'll see that there's not a mark, okay? This thing is like perfect still. Okay, so like, as I said, you're just gonna slide that in here, and then you're gonna hammer on this end, either with this hammer or any other blunt tool, and it should just pop off, okay? And I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Just a little bit more on the Spiralwinder bezels. So comes in multiple colors. They glow in the dark. This one's the blue one. There's a black one. Okay. There's actually a gray one that I think that one is relatively new. I didn't purchase that one, but I think I might in the future, because they're pretty high quality. And then there's the green one here, which I have installed on my other Speedy. Okay, and you'll see that each one of these comes with a disc, right, like the actual bezel itself. And then you can see, and this is important here, that there's this plastic kind of like a gasket in there, and that's important. This is what's actually holding the bezel in place, including this original one. There's also a gasket in there, and you'll see that in a moment. Okay, So each one of these comes with a gasket. Okay, pretty nice, nicely printed, glow in the dark, and the actual bezel itself has a nice stainless steel finish to it. No different than the OG. Okay. All right, so let me just set this aside and show you how easy it is to just kind of pop that bezel off. So the first step you're going to do is you're just going to take your watch and kind of set it off to the side like this. Okay. Then you're going to take this, and I would just kind of slide it into the lip. Okay. Maybe use your fingers here to kind of hold it down. Slide it in there, and then you just tap it. And then voila. So after I hammered it out, the bezel kind of flew off to the side, but just to show you here, you can see that the use of that tool here did not do anything to the condition of the watch. So this is what the watch looks like without the bezel. So, and you can see that, you know, the bezel sits on its own seating around here and has nothing to do with the crystal. So the crystal actually has its own seating in here. So popping out the bezel actually won't have any impact on the water rating of this watch. Okay, so that's actually kind of what it looks like without the bezel. Looks naked, I guess. Anyways, so this is the original bezel that popped out. You can see, you know, there's no damage using the tool. It's like it's still perfect. Looking underneath, that's what it looks like. It looks kind of exactly the same as this, except this one is missing the plastic. Now, it just kind of slid off, but this is what the plastic gasket looks like. Okay. It's just a little gasket here. Now, it seems kind of delicate. Now, some watches, I mean, this watch is relatively new, so, you know, the bezel came off relatively easily, and this one came off intact. But sometimes, you know, when you pop yours off, if your watch is kind of older, it might get stuck onto here. Okay. And if it's even older than that, then sometimes you can actually damage this original one. Depending on how old your watch is, maybe it's been around, maybe it's seen water, sweat, and it kind of fuses onto here. So when you pop off the original bezel, you could damage this. Now, I don't expect this to be a very expensive part to replace. It's probably pretty easy to order from Omega, just in case you're worried that you might damage this. It's easily replaceable. Or you just use the gasket from, you know, these Spiralwinders. They also do the same function. Okay. So that was the hardest part, actually. It's just popping off that bezel. And when you get to the part where you want to install the new one, you just have to align it, right? It kind of sits nicely here. If you press, like, it moves around. The only time it gets tightened is if you press down on it. And for me, the best way to align this is to actually use the chrono seconds hand. And you kind of look down onto here, and then as you tilt up, it should point to the dot. Okay, so this one needs to be over here. That's how you know you're perfectly aligned. Okay, so you look down here, right, and then you tilt up, and it should point to the dot. And once when you're satisfied with that, you can press down on that, or you can use the tool to put on top, and you can press down, right? Or you can do what I do. And I just have this cheap press, bezel crystal press that you can buy from Amazon. And what you can do is you can slide this in here, right? And then you just press down, you know, kind of sits down like that. You press down, you know, move it around to different positions, continue to press, right? I'd like to move it to the other side here, press again. And that's it. You got yourself a fully installed Spiralwinder Bezel on an Omega Speedmaster Professional. Okay, as easy as that. And then you can just take your old bezel. Maybe it's a good idea to slide this back in. And then you use this handy little storage device. And you can just pop it out like that, protect it. Okay? And store it away. There, yourself a perfectly good bezel, and that's it. So seriously, just with these tools alone, a couple of minutes of your time, a little bit of patience, because sometimes, you know, these bezels can be a little finicky or sticky depending on each case, right? Everybody's situation might be different on how you use your watch. Again, like this watch was relatively new; it's like less than a year old. I keep my watches clean, but you know, if you have a lot of sweat, dirt, grime, this might be a little bit more stickier than usual. But with a little bit of patience, just tap it, you know, with the tool, right? And then it should pop out. Don't ever use anything metal to try to pry this, okay? The moment you use something that's metal, like a knife or a screwdriver or anything like that, you will scratch it. So, but as long as you use this, you will not scratch your watch or ruin the finish, okay? So be patient, don't do anything stupid, don't use anything metal on this. I've seen videos where people use a little gambling chip, you know, from a casino. Apparently it kind of fits in there and they wedge it in and twist it or pry it off. You can use that. I don't have one of those chips, so I don't gamble. But this seems to work for me, okay, and it works well. So I've done this many times on this watch here. This watch is new, and I had zero problems installing on this one as well. But yeah, that's it. So good luck to everybody on yours. But to me, this is considered to be a relatively easy install. You'll actually find it easier to install a new bezel than it is to actually try to change out the bracelet. Because this can be finicky, and you know, there could be risk of scratches if you don't take out the bracelet with the right tools. Okay, that's it. All right, have a good day, everybody.